APOE Complexium, a symbol of peace, progress, and prosperity. Episode 1. Matthew Kane was violently awakened, not by his usual 6:30 a.m. alarm, but by a frightening noise that rumbled the entire room. Rush of confusion. His heart beating like a drum forced him to look around. Everything seemed wrong. He jumped out of bed, dashing to the window, yanking the curtains apart so roughly they ripped in his frantic haste. His eyes went wide. The towering city skyline was shaking, and a long, fiery streak of glowing dust marked a spot in the sky. Far away, an enormous, orange-lit mushroom cloud occupied the distant horizon over White Rock Lake. Matt, trembling with fear, quickly turned on his TV to see a severe expression on the news anchor's face. The anchor confirmed a huge rock from space had crashed near the lake, generating shockwaves. The blast had shattered the windows of all buildings near the lake, injuring thousands, but thankfully all had survived. He remembered his previous meeting with the United Nations Aerospace Council. His planetary defense proposal had been dismissed. Now, watching the ruined city, Matt realized with a heavy conviction they would need his suggestion. It was vital. It was about safeguarding the world and all living on it from terrifying objects from the void of space. Before he could formulate a plan, the distinct sound of his phone ringing sliced through the silence. Lorna, concerned, asked, "Matt, did you see the news?" Matt simply replied, "It's terrible." They agreed to meet immediately. "I'll meet you at the office as early as possible because there are some issues that I think we need to discuss." He knew he had to act, not just for himself, Lorna, or his city, but for the safety of all humanity. Matt entered the development office next to the United Nations Aerospace Council. The air was thick with unease. Lorna and Ed, the other APOE Complexium team members, were already waiting, their faces grim. Lorna greeted him with a weak smile. Matt sat down, his mind still overwhelmed by the devastation he had just witnessed. That was a true horror, Matt finally gasped. Ed and Lorna silently agreed. "What can we do differently?" Lorna sighed. Matt leaned forward. "Do you remember when I suggested a laser defense system for the APE Complexium?" "The giant laser beam system, right?" Ed asked, rubbing his head. Matt nodded with newfound conviction. Maybe it's not such a crazy idea after all. Lorna's eyes glowed with interest as she leaned closer to Matt. Matt explained, "I can create a laser beam system like a shield that can change their trajectory or destroy the asteroids." Ed was reflective. "It's a great idea, Matt, but it would take an enormous effort, resources, and a lot of money." "But after what happened today, who's to say this wasn't necessary?" Matt declared. "We can't sit idly by." Lorna added, "The system must also replace our current, obsolete International Space Station. We need cutting-edge technology." But the vision grew beyond defense. Matt proposed using the lasers to propel mini-satellite solar sails toward distant exoplanets. Lorna's eyes lit up. Habitable zones. The closest Earth-like planet is Proxima Centauri b, 4.2 light-years away. Ed reacted promptly, tinged with excitement. "And what is over there?" he asked, fascinated. They speculated on the types of life forms, bacteria, viruses, or a whole new ecology utterly different from our own. The Dallas tragedy had been a brutal wake-up call, but it also catalyzed their grand, unifying vision for humanity. Lorna, with a newfound sense of enthusiasm, declared, "We must demonstrate that our solar-powered laser system is a symbol of hope." Matt agreed. They would provide an abstract with detailed flowcharts and calculations to demonstrate the system's strength. Ed nodded. "Let's get to work then." This combined idea of protection and the search for alien life is possible. Driven by devotion, the three meticulously reviewed all possibilities late into the day, their work fueling a new destiny for humankind. The following day, Matt and Lorna gathered at the office building, hope lingering in their eyes. They realized this crisis could be turned into a leap forward for a new world. Lorna asked Matt about the security concerns for the aerospace platforms. Matt, grimacing, mentioned that the configuration suggested by you, Anusatic, was inadequate for the agents of Aodon. He worried about terrorist activity from a lack of security and a potential violation of Earth. conflict from Chinese diplomats. Ed Rake expressed frustration that the council prioritizes politics and budget over the designer's original, plausible vision. Lorna asked if there was still time for a significant rebuttal. Matt confirmed that the design was still under substantial controversy and signaled Lorna to go get coffee. Ed opted to stay, focusing on drafting the needed rebuttal. Matt and Lorna walked toward the Orion Cafe, a moment of light talk and shared smiles. Lorna spontaneously invited Matt over for Spanish-style chili and a sparkling bottle that evening. Matt hesitated, citing a meeting with the APOE Design and Development Board to review assurance numbers. He detailed the technical and cost challenges. The ceramoplasty metalloid material wasn't testing well, and the cost was a staggering $128 trillion. Lorna urged him to chill and enjoy life, reminding him the project would last for years. She questioned the unfathomable scale. Majipo had to be 3.5 miles in diameter. Minopause sees 1 mile. Matt defended the size, believing the Majipo had to be visible from Earth, even with binoculars. He added that the peace symbol design would signal to any adept aliens that Earth is a peaceful planet. A waitress, Adriana, approached the counter, briefly catching Matt's attention with her beauty. Lorna, subtly laying claim, grinned at Adriana before ordering iced coffee for herself and Matt. Their discussion of the APOE Complexium felt secondary to the underlying attraction and tension between them. As they headed back to the office, Lorna questioned if their dream would ever reach fruition. Matt conceded they could always try, but acknowledged that the final result might not be this. Upon entering the office, Ed gave Matt a grim look. The administrative documentarian called Anu Sadik had decided to put the design on hold. Matt cursed the setback, but covered his utter disappointment, calling it unexpected. Lorna, recognizing the political game, suggested they write a detailed precipice summary and leak information to the news. Matt, taking a frustrated breath, agreed, "You're right, Lorna." The three hurried back to their desks, ready to create the summary. They decided to title the initial document APOE Complexium Summary. The summary needed to address feasibility, mechanics, cost, and the political fire of Russia and China's separatist intentions. Lorna pointed out the risk of setting up the project to foster war in space if nations went their runaway way. Matt compared their technological dilemma to Einstein and Oppenheimer creating the atomic bomb. Ed, playing the politician, urged them to concentrate only on the positive aspects of the precipice. They worked through the night, incorporating new ideas from Matt's initial document. Exhausted, Lorna and Ed decided to break off at 3 a.m. and urged Matt not to pull an all-nighter. Matt continued working for another hour. The next day, Lorna arrived at the office. Ed was already there. "Where's Matt, Ed?" "As if I didn't know," Lorna joked, her eyes hinting at their previous night's tension. Ed noted Matt was trying to keep a schedule nobody could maintain. Ed suggested Lorna roust him from his quarters. "We don't want to hear him again. Why didn't you wake him up?" Lorna found Matt's door unlocked and saw him snoozing away. She used a small security horn, resulting in a sudden, loud blast. Matt shot up in bed. "What the hell is that?" "Oh, it's you," he laughed wildly. Lorna teased him about being a little dream boy with virtually no sleep. Matt, looking at her and waiting for her to leave, said he'd get dressed in a few minutes. Lorna, grinning, said she would watch, as she hated to be put out of a man's room. She then asked him if he was going to take a shower. "I am a big girl, Matt. You don't mind if I join you, like last time?" Matt, excitedly, began to take off his shirt as Lorna take off her jacket. They met at the shower door and entered the water together. They looked deep into each other's eyes, remembering moments they had shared. After showering, they dried off, and Lorna asked Matt to create moments, saying, "We've got time." Matt locked the door as they headed for the bed, glancing at each other romantically. About an hour later, Lorna said, "Well, Matt, as much as I hate to, we had better get to work." Matt replied, "Yeah, Lorna, I sure enjoyed it, woman." Lorna asked if they were missing out on life working on the project. Matt noted that a big part of life is accomplishments, and they kind of asked for this. They finished dressing and headed for the office, Lorna hoping for lulls in the project for quality time. Lorna playfully touched Matt's crotch. I'll help you remember. Big guy, staring wildly. Ed greeted them with a shit-faced grin, asking, I guess it took a while to wake him up. Lorna shot back. Well, Ed, we wanted to take a little time for a little nookie, if that's all right with you. Matt pulled up the APOE Complexium summary on his workstation for the team to review. The summary began by detailing the monumental, enormous size, shaped like the international peace symbol of Earth. Each APOE was designed with an outer ring for aerospace military defense initiatives. The center featured a sky deck for science, business, and tourists to help pay for maintenance. The estimated cost for the whole complex was a staggering $128 trillion, with a 75-year development time. The most crucial addition was the gigantic laser gun to destroy or alter the path of incoming cosmic threats. These lasers could also thrust solar sails carrying mini-satellites toward exoplanets like Proxima Centauri b, searching for alien life. Lorna praised the addition of the laser defense system, equipped to detect such asteroids early. The team walked into the break room, mugs in hand, ready to dissect the APOE Complexium proposal. Matt began? What do you think, Lorna? What do you think about point number 1, Ed? Ed objected to referencing Deep Space 99 or Hitler II, fearing negative political connotations. Lorna disagreed, arguing the references gave the audience a model for both technological design and political contention. Matt sided with Lorna, but conceded Ed's point on the negative human condition aspects, agreeing to revisit them later. Lorna then questioned Matt on his reasoning for the exact scale of the 3.5-mile monumental design. Matt confessed the size was partly a dreamy sci-fi guesstimate, desiring the station to be seen from Earth. Ed agreed that practicality often leads to downsizing, but conceded they should leave the large size for now. Matt clarified that his inclusion of AMDI was a reference to technological military defense initiatives, not conflict. Lorna, with a laugh, suggested the military reference was a way to invite them to invest trillions in it. Ed, seeing the financial logic, admitted it might not be a bad idea after all. Lorna liked the Skydeck idea for science, business, and tourists, appealing to civilian politicians. Ed agreed that tourist bucks would convince them of the project's plausibility. They celebrated the arms on the monumental, which would usher in a new era of building vessels in space. Lorna suggested their inspiration came from previous sci-fi, which Matt laughingly confirmed. Ed received an urgent phone call and excused himself to step outside. The call was from his wife, informing him her parents were visiting and asking him to buy groceries. He suggested, half-jokingly, they turn the project into a feature with a cartoon character lead, Mickey Mouse or Donald Quack. Lorna added, or how about a little sexy in there with Jessica Jezebel? Ed laughed hysterically, suggesting if the project failed, they could just start careers writing comic books. Lorna returned to the serious question. What were the chances Russia or China would pursue a separatist movement? Matt and Ed agreed the chances were high, given their consistent rhetoric. Lorna insisted they should still mention it in the document as a concern for political logistics. Lorna also questioned the long 75-year development time, finding it too lengthy for council approval. Matt grimaced, explaining that downsizing efforts always outweigh the vision, though military leaders prefer the full size. Ed argued that including phases and downsizing options provides the council with reality and feasibility. Lorna questioned the immense figure of 200 million jobs, admitting it sounded like a fantasy number. Matt conceded it was a dream state, but that the job projections were an enticing, multi-generational aspect. Ed pointed out that to managers, the large numbers could be a devastating denial of the project. Ed suggested Lorna and Matt run the sociological, philosophical rhetoric by their friends for input before submission. Matt agreed, saying it would be interesting to get feedback since this is just a dreamy document at this point. Matt prepared to leave for a meeting with Dr. Drake concerning a further investigation into the design summary. Ed and Lorna gave him encouraging words, telling him to remember every big idea starts as a dream. Matt felt a renewed sense of determination. The APOE Complexium was a glimpse into the future. He was resolved to see it come to fruition. Matt, inspired by Lorna, walked into the Anusatic headquarters, ready for the meeting. The meeting began in the impressive conference room with Laura Diamond, the director, seated at the head. Dr. Susan Regent asked Matt to explain his vision for the project's immensity and whether it was truly a need. Matt replied that his vision was to create a definite presence in space, stirring imagination and providing hope for future generations. Dr. Carl Fagato quipped, "So, this project is like the pyramids of Egypt." Matt, smiling, answered, "In a matter of speaking, yes, except it's not for the arrogant few, but for all the people of the earth." Dr. Paul Kastner defended the idea, calling it like the Egyptian pyramids, only in our time. Dr. Jason Argos questioned the timing, citing economic and political downturns, suggesting a smaller start with it. Minipo, Dr. Ansendade, countered, highlighting the potential benefits for the military and corporations, and the longevity for future generations. He mentioned the potential job creation, specifically to alleviate the debt challenges faced by millennials. Matt informed the committee that their design team was working on a more complete document and would send a copy when ready. Laura adjourned the meeting, eagerly requesting the new, more detailed document ASPA. Matt ran into Dr. James Benton and asked if he was interested in reviewing the working document beforehand. Benton agreed and even offered to get feedback from his associates, a potentially vital move. Matt ambled back to the design office where Lorna and Ed were waiting. Lorna and Ed immediately teased him. Did they tear the big boy's shirt off his back? Matt played along, dramatically unbuckling and dropping his pants. They continued the joke, debating the quality of his underwear. Matt summarized the meeting of serious concerns about immensity and fiscal reality, but some interest in military and tech longevity. Lorna suggested a break. "Let's take a break and go to the Orion and shoot the shit," Ed declined, needing to check in with his wife and kids. Matt and Lorna went to the Orion, discussing the council's increasingly serious response. Lorna mused that corporate greed for asteroid mining wealth must be influencing the council. Upon arriving at the Orion, Lorna said, "It's early afternoon, but I think I'll have a bubbly Matt." Matt hesitated, admitting he had too much to do. Lorna teased him, "I'm not your mother, Matt. I won't tell." The bartender returned with 2 moderately priced champagnes. Lorna wrapped her arm around Matt's, pushing her glass to his lips, urging him to celebrate the moderately successful meeting. Lorna defiantly renamed the council Anusatic, the big heads driving the approval of this project. The bartender, overhearing, burst out laughing, then turned away to continue his business. Matt, holding back hysterical laughter, returned the toast. "Why not, Lorna? Why not?" They kissed and Lorna asked, "Mistress Ruby will be in tonight, big boy." Matt agreed. "You know the old saying when you are distressed, it's time to see your mistress." They finished their liaison and headed back to the office to wrap up the day. That evening, Matt forgot to plug in his electric car for 2 nights and had to call a tow truck home. Lorna called, laughing at his lascivious excuse, and insisted Mistress Ruby will be there. They decided to enjoy the morning, taking a shower together. They heated up last night's dinner for lunch, wanting a little more time together. Lorna smiled. "That was so wonderful last night, Matt. We've got to do that again soon." Matt followed Lorna to her house to retrieve her luggage, euphoria still visible on their faces. Arriving at work, Lorna questioned what hell was coming their way today. Matt surmised it was the same old scenario, and they needed to finalize the synopsis for the documentation specialists. Ed greeted them with a teasing flourish. "Well, should I talk about sleepyheads, lovebirds, or just plain goof-offs?" Lorna, unapologetic, replied. Matt and I had a great time, reinforcing their new romantic status. Ed diagnosed himself with frustration rather than burnout, and they got back to the synopsis. They meticulously reviewed the document, deciding to focus on cutting the philosophical rhetoric from point 15 onward. They added a provision for philanthropic support under the all-volunteer no-profit initiative. Lorna asked Matt to drop by her place later so she could relax with you. Ed, seeing the dynamic, advised Matt, "Remember, Lorna had a rather contemptuous divorce. It will do you 2 good to enjoy each other." Matt admitted, "Last night was a wonderful attitude-changing night. I have to admit." Ed pressed Matt to wrap up the synopsis tomorrow and submit it, accepting the inevitable back-and-forth process. Matt left the office as a lovely sunset was in progress. He checked the charge gauge on his electric car and reluctantly plugged it in. Matt turned on his television and heard a newscaster announce the UN's request for proposals to replace the ISS. Matt muttered in frustration, "Anusatic doesn't consider our proposal feasible." Damn it! The doorbell rang. It was Lorna, who could sense Matt's concern. Lorna suggested he get it off your chest up front, so they could enjoy a lot more enjoyable evening. Matt revealed the news, The UN was requesting replacement proposals, suggesting their own project might be ignored. Lorna offered a counter theory. They might just be requesting more proposals for a more competitive image due to politics. Matt accepted her logic. Oh, well, I think that's off my chest. Lorna had a giddy grin. Well, that means Mistress Ruby can continue where she left off last night. Lorna suggested a weekend getaway, a bed and breakfast on the beach in San Diego. Matt agreed that if they finished the synopsis tomorrow, it might free up the weekend. Lorna insisted she would handle the flight reservations. They began making out, and Matt decided it was time for Mistress Ruby to entertain me in the boudoir. The next day, they both took a shower and got ready for work. Matt drove them to work, Lorna urging him, "Don't start with the work already. It's a beautiful day just to enjoy the ride." Arriving at the office, Lorna found a note from Ed. He was taking time off due to his wife's breast cancer diagnosis. Matt and Lorna expressed their sadness, but resolved to send a positive card. They worked all day and finished the synopsis, emailing it back to the documentation specialists and their acquaintances. Lorna suggested taking the day off and cruising around, as they couldn't do much more until the editing came back. Matt, grin returned. Agreed. Now that you mention it, that seems like a great idea. Porsche. Matt and Lorna returned to the office, fully concentrated on their ambitious project. Matt was reading the email. The documentation specialist called the document fascinating. Matt joked, well, at least the call is an interesting document, with a sassy grin. Lorna, pragmatic, thought it meant the specialist would be an ally, not a foe. They noticed much of the philosophical rhetoric had been left in, a positive sign for the human approach. Matt and Lorna worked on the synopsis corrections all day, stretching into the early evening. Lorna declared, "I'm starving. Let's go to a nice restaurant and get some dinner." They entered the upscale Baker's Grill arm in arm, Matt commenting, "Let's truck and be merry." Lorna ordered lobster, and Matt countered with a ribeye, staying in a playful mood. Lorna asked if Matt was packed for the trip, admitting she had packed while he was sleeping. Matt finished the synopsis and emailed it back to the documentation specialists. They immediately left the office and headed for Matt's house to pack for the 7:30 flight. Arriving at Matt's house, Lorna teased, "It's just too quick," Matt referring to the time before their flight. "Matt, catching the drift," replied. "I see," says the doctor. "I think you need some bed rest." They moved Lorna's luggage from her Porsche to Matt's more discreet car for the trip to the airport. They boarded their flight, heading for San Diego. Upon arrival, Matt asked about renting a car. Lorna replied, "Oh no, they're supposed to deliver a rental Lamborghini out front." Matt was amazed. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious as the bright yellow Lamborghini pulled up. They checked into the bed and breakfast, Matt admiring the cozy interior. "Hey, this is nice." "Oh, Lorna," maintaining her playful mood, replied, "All the better to feel you with." The next day, they hopped in the Lamborghini, Matt asking, Which way, Lorna?" Lorna directed, "Head north. Let's find the seaside route and book. If we find a little burg that sounds cozy, let's take the exit." They drove on Route 101, the Pacific Coast Highway, longing only for each other's company. Lorna spotted a sign for seaside bungalows and suggested they stop for the night. They found a bungalow and spent the early evening on the porch, enjoying the ocean view. As the stars came out, they snuggled, quietly enjoying their time together. The next day, Lorna admitted they had missed their original B&B and needed to head back. Matt, high on the thrill of freedom, suggested taking the whole week off and extending the rental. Lorna immediately agreed. "Right on, Matt." Away we go. They spent the hours just cruising north, still heading where the road led them. Lorna spotted a sign for San Francisco and suggested a picnic at Golden Gate Park. They found a beautiful spot overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge for their picnic. Matt got a message on his phone. Guess what? They returned the synopsis. They quickly checked the return flight, finding tickets leaving that evening at 7. Lorna declared, "Most excellent adventure, hey?" as they prepared to return the Lamborghini. They took a flight back to Starplucks, their journey strengthening their bonds and rekindling their feelings for each other. Matt and Lorna returned to their routine, the excitement of their vacation still lingering. The office was unusually quiet, an atmosphere of tension hanging in the air. Matt paced back and forth, clearly frustrated. The council had postponed their meeting without a new date. Those council members, Matt exclaimed, slamming his fist on the desk. Lorna, startled, composed herself, reminding Matt of the political competition they face. Matt, absorbing her words, whispered, "You're spot on," regaining a sense of relief and control. They effortlessly slipped back into their work rhythm, reviewing the documentation team's revisions. Lorna emphasized the need to stress urgency. "The stakes have risen after what happened in Dallas." Matt agreed. The APOE Complexium was not a goal, but an essential requirement for survival. Lorna unexpectedly asked, "Matt, have you ever thought about the meaning behind all of this?" She wondered if they were chasing something that might not even be real, fearing the next asteroid might not be a warning. Matt shared that he wonders often, striving because he believes their project is a vision of tomorrow and a promise of hope. Lorna smiled gently. "You always have a way of offering a perspective." The unspoken words of their relationship hung in the air, a delicate bridge waiting to be crossed. Matt finally broke the silence. "I've been thinking a lot lately, personally." Lorna, breath caught in her throat, encouraged him. "Yes?" Matt, hesitant, worried that trying to save the world meant they were neglecting what was in front of them. Before Lorna could respond, Matt smiled and murmured, "Forget it. Let's finish this task first." Lorna returned to her work, disappointed but unsurprised by Matt's emotional retreat. They worked quietly for another hour, the tension simmering below the surface. Matt glanced at Lorna, his gaze lingering longer than usual. He feared their personal lives might interfere with the mission, jeopardizing everything. Matt stood up. "I believe we've accomplished enough for today. Let's wrap up the remaining tasks tomorrow." He watched Lorna exit and heard the door close softly behind her. A feeling lingered within him. Something significant had shifted between them. Stepping outside, the crisp night air greeted him, offering an escape from the turmoil. Gazing up at the stars, he pondered the sought-after answers that lay beyond his grasp. He understood that maintaining professional focus was crucial to saving the world. Yet, he couldn't shake off the worry that the true threat wasn't in space, but within his heart. That realization frightened him more than any asteroid ever could. The next morning, Matt's mind was still swirling with the events and emotional turmoil of the previous night. He found Lorna already at her desk, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Matt," she said gravely, "I need to tell you something." Her friend, Sonia, suspected something undermining was going on with Unisatic. Sonia believed big money is trying to influence Unisatic toward their desires. Lorna, protecting her source, only divulged scuttlebutt concerning Chicago and Palmdale. Matt immediately recognized the threat, Going Aerospace, and Boak-led Martin Aerospace Technologies, the biggies. Lorna noted that since the UOE was quietly opening up considerations, more competition would follow. Matt sighed, realizing that their small company, Starplex, was facing giants. Their prolific design was their only advantage. Lorna warned Matt that a pared-down proposal due to fiscal concerns was a real possibility. They worked at a feverish pace, quickly finalizing the corrected synopsis. Lorna asked Matt if the document was baked yet and what their plans were for the evening. Matt agreed to dinner. "I'm dying for some pasta at Le Bistro de Amor," a subtle return to shared intimacy. Lorna suggested a post-presentation getaway to Bora Bora for utter isolation and an extended stress reliever. Lorna continued, anticipating their post-project quality time in the bungalow and make native love. Matt, matching her mood, joked, "Kinky Moana, does that mean you're on top?" Lorna then described her mood for a fierce, uninhibited night of lovemaking. They finished their playful dinner and headed toward Lorna's house for the night. The playful teasing continued as they drove, trying not to blow their playtime. Matt picked up the phone. It was Ed, who had just been offered a lucrative salary by Going Aerospace. Ed confessed he stalled them to forestall trouble, knowing the big boys were trying to gut pertinent members in Starplex. Matt realized this was both good and bad news. They were afraid, but they had already started playing rough. Matt warned Lorna to keep it real low-key with Sonia, as they were likely targets now. Sonia confirmed to Lorna, "It's scrap, Sonia, when you have a good thing going, and then everybody else is going to try to move in." Lorna and Sonia finished their meal wearily, agreeing they had to lead covert lives for a while. Lorna drove to Matt's house, imagining what kind of therapy conversation they needed. She began, "Matt, before you get started, there are several constituencies concerned that we have a design that could impact them." Lorna quickly diverted the conversation. "Let's get some bubbly, because we want to talk anyway." Matt took a deep breath, smiling, knowing Lorna was right about the stress relief. They undressed and Matt took out Lorna's special liaisons of fluency, elf attire. After some time enjoying each other, they casually rested on the lounge. Lorna, wriggling her bottom, asked, "Now, do you feel therapized, little boy?" Matt replied, "Absolutely, Mistress Ruby. By the way, what do you charge for your therapy?" Lorna responded that her charge was a man, and Matt replied, "I charge a woman just like Mistress Ruby." Lorna admitted, "We got sucked into the agents of Adon and didn't even realize it. Now, let's play it for all it's worth." The next day, the playful banter from the night before seemed like a distant memory. Lorna's friend Sonia rushed in, her face pale, trembling with urgency. "Lorna, they're bribing the council members?" Sonia blurted out. Matt mumbled, "Once the money gets involved, lives become cheap." The phone rang. It was Ed. Matt picked it up, concern immediately evident. Ed confessed he was just visited by Going Aerospace, offering him a lucrative salary to jump ship. Ed realized the good news was that they're afraid, and that means we have something. Matt warned Ed and Lorna to be prepared for some rough going, as in possible threats. Matt slowly dialed Lorna's number, reaching her while she was still with Sonia. Matt warned Lorna that Ed was contacted and that she needed to be careful who was listening. Lorna and Sonia finished their meal warily, agreeing to not be seen too much together till this blows over. Lorna drove to Matt's house, giving him an immediate defense of her actions and a quick shift to seduction. She grabbed his shirt and declared, "Let's just go to the Boo1 because we want to talk anyway." Matt replied with humorous resignation, "Yeah, the stress," agreeing to the therapy. They picked up bubbly on the way to Lorna's, signaling the evening's indulgent nature. They entered Lorna's apartment and carried the bubbly straight to the bedroom. They simply smiled as they undressed, foregoing conversation for immediate intimacy. Matt retrieved Lorna's liaisons of fluency, LOF, from the closet as requested. Lorna donned her Mistress Ruby's robe, her expression one of complete dominant satisfaction. After some time, they casually rested on the lounge, the sexual energy subsiding into contentment. Lorna, wriggling her bottom, asked, "Now, do you feel therapized, little boy?" Matt, smiling, accepted the therapy, confirming he would only charge a woman just like Mistress Ruby. They moved to the bed to discuss the political trouble ahead in a comfortable way. Matt warned, "It's not going to be pleasant. I just hope this is not going to be a slaughterhouse." Lorna, defiant, noted they were acting like agents of Auden without realizing it. She declared, "And now, let's play it for all it's worth. We're not here to lose." Matt, despite the seriousness, burst into hysterical laughter at her shocking change of tone. The APOE Complexium, still a hopeful dream, was glowing brightly in their minds. It was a vision of what could be at its best, a place to thrive for peace and hope. The visionaries, Matt and Lorna, took a long ride, ending at Monaghan Sandhills State Park. The sun set, casting red and purple hues across the massive desert sky. They were lying on the smooth, soft sand, gazing up at the limitless sky. The stars were shining brightly in the cold night air, reminding them of the colony they planned to achieve. They pictured a future where their descendants would continue the pursuit of knowledge and exploration. For now, the project only existed in their hearts, but every challenge seemed to bring it closer. The dream was a light of peace, strength, and hope for everyone who wanted a better future. From the world of M. Kane. Stay tuned for next episodes. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon for more updates.